civil engineering was one of the options because you see it everywhere and you see there is a lot of opportunities around you, right? So that I don't think it's going to be changing in a near future, even if you are looking at AI and automatically creating designs or visuals and all that.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Design Head podcast, and thanks a lot for showering all the love that you are doing. And I'm really thank you for all of you guys to kind of support us in the journey that we are going through. Today we have a wonderful guest Harith with us, and he works at IBM, and he has been part of the IBM Apple partnership. He has been part of the designing experiences throughout. So let's just get him on board, and he can introduce himself. Hey Harith, how are you doing?
Hi, Bait. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really doing well. I think hope you're doing well too.
I'm doing awesome. Amazing. Let's just kickstart the podcast with your introduction.
Yeah. So basically, like you mentioned, I'm part of the Apple IBM partnership team, which is actually part of IBM India here. So, which is a partnership started in 2014, and I also joined IBM in 2014. So, I was very fortunate to be part of this program immediately after the training, right? So, my entire design career is with this partnership, and actually, I did not come from a design background, so I transitioned from an engineering background to design, and my entire design career is part of this program. So, yeah, that's what been the journey actually.
Sounds amazing, and I think definitely we're gonna get deep into the journeys of as we go along. But I saw that you kind of did an engineering and then an MTech as well. So when you were doing all of those things, did you ever thought of like design as an option for your career, or you were always focused with engineering?
Yeah, the story is actually a interesting one, if I say so. Maybe from school days, whenever teachers asked me, I always said I want to be a computer engineer, right? Because I was interested in computers and mobile phones and all that. I still remember the first mobile phone I started using, which my parents had. It was Sony Ericsson, some T90 or some model, which had internet in it, but it was a very small screen. Right? That's my first internet experience. Then the old computers that we had in our schools, that where I started exploring more. So from there, I was interested in this gadgets, and I was interested in computers, right? So my first choice was to become a computer engineering at that time. But after school, I did not really do that. One of the reasons, if I think about it, was not really great. It was one of the silly reasons, right? So I started using my glasses at that time. So my parents said it's not good for you to stare at the computer screen all the time, and computer science is not one of the options you should choose, right? That was one, and another one was a better reason, I would say. Maybe companies like Infosys and Wipro in India were not really doing great at that time, and there was a lot of layoffs happening in the IT industry and all that. So that was another reason I chose another stream of engineering, and that's when I started doing my bachelor's in civil engineering. Actually, that was the decision to switch from computer science to civil engineering, right? But even during my bachelor's, when I got my first laptop, I started exploring tools like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator and all that. I still remember editing my parents' picture and changing the backgrounds and all that in the Photoshop that we had, right? And that self study got me a chance to be part of the magazine editing crew in the college at that time. So we did our complete magazine in house. We did all the layouts and editing and all that. So I would consider that as my first design project. But I didn't know anything about UX design or graphic design at that time, right? And from there, since I had interest towards design and technology side of things, when I joined for my masters in NITK Surathkal, I chose remote sensing and GIS, which is a more technology side of civil engineering, where we were working with the satellite images and geospatial maps and all that. So it had a flavor of graphic design to it. It had a flavor of images and all that. And from there, IBM happened. And when I joined IBM, since I was not from a technical background or a coding background, I joined as a mobile application tester. That's the stream I was assigned to, right? Because it's a graduate hire program, and you don't really get what you really want, right? And when that happened, this is the first project I joined after training, the Apple IBM partnership, right? And that's where I started looking at the mobile applications and started testing mobile applications and all that. And I had a good eye for finding these patterns and understanding mobile patterns and all that. And it helped me understand basically that was part of my job to find out the defects in the screens, right? And from there I started interacting with the design team at the Apple IBM partnership team, and that's where I started understanding the design phase of app development cycle actually, by interacting with the team. And from there, when the team was expanding and I got a chance to cross skill and become part of the team, and that's how the journey actually started. So when I saw this design process, I actually connected with my photoshopping experiences and the magazine editing experience and all that. That actually helped me to understand what exactly I like doing, and that's how the transfer actually happened.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. So, when you kind of joined, because you said at the time the IT companies was laying off a lot of employees, and it didn't seem the right option for you. While
Yeah.
choosing civil, I have less knowledge about civil. I'm just curious to know. Did you ever saw civil as a more creative rather than the computer science or any other field, IT? Was that in any of
uh,
your mind?
I think while doing civil engineering, I enjoyed doing sketching and planning part of it. That also had a design to it, right? So I think that really helped me while doing design or understanding the process and all that. But before doing civil, I don't really connected it with design, because I was not really I did not really know what design or graphic design or UX design, any of that, right? But civil engineering was one of the options because you see it everywhere and you see there is a lot of opportunities around you, right? So that I think that was one of the reasons to choose civil.
Amazing.
Of course, it was my second option, but yeah, yeah,
But sounds amazing because while you kind of got into civil without knowing that it might have some or other aspects of design, but I think later you came across it. So let's just
right.
dive deep into like you joined IBM as an engineer first and kind of then slowly grew your career. Then at what point or like how did your mind click that like this engineering or this thing is not for me and I should kind of split into or kind of change my lanes to design.
Yeah, so I was also interested in photography and videography and all that. That's how I started interacting with the design team there. So whenever there was a photo shoot or videography that happens in the floor, so that's when I started talking with the team and understand what they exactly do, right? When I saw the designs and what they exactly experienced during this process, that's how it actually clicked with experience I had with my photoshopping days, or magazine editing days and all that. I think that was the transition point. And also manual testing was not something I really enjoyed. I wanted to be in the creative phase, because this you already created something, right? And you're testing. But I also always enjoyed it because you get to look at the screens from a fresh eyes, and you get to find out the issues that should not be there, right? Because I think UI testing is one of the fields that all the designers should be doing, because you are the one who designed it and you should know exactly what the screen should look like, right? So I think that also helped me in becoming a better designer in the future. But I think the interaction with the design team really helped and in understanding the design process, and that actually helped me into the transition is what I think.
Awesome. So curious. So in IBM, do the testers kind of interact with design engineers? So I know that they will because they have
Mhm.
to report the bugs. But do they interact with designers to understand is this the right flow that has to happen, or like does the collaboration happens with them?
Yeah, I would say this Apple IBM partnership program was a bit of a startup culture within IBM. So this was a space where everybody sits together, right? So we had the developers, the designers, the engineers, I mean the testers, and all the management, all our CTOs, everybody on the same floor. So we had access to everyone. So we created teams within this group where, I mean, different teams will be working on different clients or different projects. So each team had group of people from all these categories, right? So it was very easy for us to interact with all the people and understand what exactly they do. And it was also helpful in transitioning our designs to the developers, and then understanding the defects from the testing team to the developers and all that. So I think this place actually helped me in understanding all this. And I'm not sure what happens in outside this project. I did not work on multiple projects within IBM, but this place was uh, set up like this, so we had access to everybody and every team member in the group actually.
Sounds amazing. But I've seen that you have grown in your design career has like so far, like it's been I think 8 or 9 years that you kind of joined IBM, then kind of
Hmm.
did design. What would you say kind of are your major 4 5 learnings that you have got so far in your career?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, I did not know anything, right? So I had to start from zero. I had to, learn everything from the leaders or the design leads that we had, and we also got trainings from internal IBM teams, and also we had trainings from the Apple IBM team who traveled from Cupertino to here and all that. So the learning, I had to do a lot of learning actually, because I am starting from zero, right? So I would say everyone helped. Everyone within IBM was very kind towards us. I mean, all the people who are transitioning from one skill to another, right? So uh, I would say, as a designer, one of the greatest things I learned was to understand, or there's one quote that I always remember. So it says, don't give people what they want, give them what they need. So I think as a designer, it's always important to understand what the need is from a user point of view, or from a client point of view. Maybe one client will come to you and say, I want a red big button on the screen, right? But you just understand what exactly the need behind the task and design for that. I think this is one of the greatest learning I had as a designer, I mean, throughout this. But there are other technical learnings that we can point out, but I would consider this as my main learning as a designer.
I think it's definitely is a great learning because until and unless as a designer we like the user will ask anything, we definitely have to get into it deep into the problem because they might be asking something else but solving something else. We need to figure the right
Yeah.
thing, right problem and everything around it, and makes sense. uh, Getting into it, I definitely have one curious question about the partnership thing that you said. So do like
Hmm.
Apple employees kind of collaborate with you guys, or it's just you guys doing stuff for other people? How does the collaboration piece work?
Yeah, I think in 2014 this partnership happened. I think this was the first partnership Apple had with any other company in the enterprise mobility space. So what they in the initial days, what we did was, we went through all the available industries, like in the enterprise space. I mean, the industries like automobile or energy and utility or travel and transportation and all that, and understood the basic use cases that are available there, right? So mostly in the enterprise point of view, for example, in the airline industry for a cabin crew, what exactly the use cases we can find out to create an application for them to help their daily job, right? So similarly, for across all these industries, we identified use cases and created sample apps. So we called them the base apps. So in the initial days, Apple and IBM created a team and formulated a design process for this particular enterprise mobility use case. So we had a customized version of the enterprise. I mean, IBM design thinking process. Currently, we have two different processes, right? One is called the enterprise IBM design thinking. So we use a customized version of this together with Apple. So that was formulated as part of this partnership. So using this process, we created base apps across all these industries. I think almost 100 base apps were created, and we went to clients from each of these industries, right, and sold them these base apps. Talked about these base apps, how exactly these base apps can help them, help their employees do their job in a better way, right? So that's how it started. In the initial days, we had team from both IBM and Apple. I think currently, I'm not sure if there is a team from Apple is also working on it. But in the initial days, there was a lot of work from both the team to formulate this process and create all these base apps and create a design system for this and create a development assets for all this. So initially, there was a lot of involvement from both the teams. Currently, mostly client projects. So I think IBM is handling most of the projects currently. But there was also a hardware selling point to this, right? So when IBM create an application for a particular client from an industry, Apple might sell devices to them after installing these applications in the device, right? So there was business for both the parties in this. So that's how it was started. And currently, it's mostly handled by IBM, is what I believe.
Sounds amazing. The next question is kind of a bigger, broader scale because you having experience of at least 6, 7 years in design, and that's I think that's a question that I really want to ask. Is like being in design, seeing design grow for a large while. Because I think when, as you said, when you kind of started, I don't think design was really famous in India as a career. Uh,
Right.
it was more of like fashion. I don't know even fashion was that or not, but I
Mm,
think engineering, doctor, or something like basic careers that whatever parents say was the major ones. But as you have grown and seen the design field grew, what have you seen as the design values change from back then to now? What do you see change in the processes? See change as a design value
mm.
now?
Yeah, so right. I think, yeah, I can still remember in the initial days, I don't think anybody considered design as one of the main part of the process, right? So everybody thought we create an application, we code it and we test it, and then we might improve the UI or improve the experience for just before shipping it to the team, right? But now everything starts with design. I see a lot of change in the approach, even from the clients and from IBM as a whole, right? There's a large IBM design team now. It was grown exponentially after after I joined, right? So now I think we have a lot of people. I mean, across globe, we have design teams everywhere. So even from client side, when they come to visit us and when they talk about their projects, they always start with design. They always look at improving the experience and always understand the value design brings to their applications or products that they have. So that change is huge, is what I think, and you can really see that when clients interact with you and when our clients come and visit you in your in your space and talk about it. And yeah, I feel like there's a huge change. Maybe they started valuing more and they started understanding what design brings to their projects. That change is huge. I can really see it in front of my interactions with the client, is what I believe.
Sounds amazing. So, do you feel that this change is gonna stay for a long time? Like tech is still like grew at a certain point. Tech was not something, but it grew, made something, and it is still a wonderful, uh, wonderful what. It's just a career choice that every parent said that
Mm.
a son that their child should do. Do you think design being one of those career in the near future, like in 5, 10 years?
I think yes, because you can create an amazing application in the background, but the experience that you provide to the end user, right? When you see an application now, I think the time one person takes is, I think, almost 3 seconds to evaluate your application and accept or reject it, right? So the you know that I mean the people are not really spending that much time to evaluate your application, especially in the customer facing applications, right? So you need to be interesting, you need to be providing value to the customer. So I don't think you can do that without understanding or spending time doing the experience design or the visual design point of view in an application life cycle, right? So I don't think it's going to be changing in a near future, even if you are looking at AI and uh, automatically creating designs or visuals and all that. But a person's intelligence or understanding from a user's point of view, I think it's going to be there for quite a while. And I don't think design is going to be out of the view for quite some time, for sure.
I think I agree with the point of view that while it might be possible that some smaller startups might be using some auto generated tools for sure if they don't have the
Mhm.
money to kind of afford a designer, but eventually if let's assume they kind of grow their career, grow their company, they will eventually hire designers because AI won't be able to tailor to their needs or what exactly do they
Right.
want. And I think experience is something that needs to have that human touch. and that just comes from a human only. I don't think AI
True.
is anywhere near to that recently. I don't know about the future, but for now, to not. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, this AI, I am not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it's not helpful, right? I think we should all explore these. We should all explore these tools that are coming up, and that will really help, or that can really be a starting point for everybody, right? Like designers or developers or anybody. So it's maybe difficult for many people to start from a blank slate. It's easy for you to start from something, right? Whenever people see something, they'll start giving you feedback instead of starting from a blank slate, maybe spending a lot of time in that phase. If you have an AI generated image or a script where you can start from, and then work on top of that and customize it for your needs and your clients needs. That part, I mean in that point of view, maybe these tools are great. That's what I feel like, from whatever progress that we see in these AI tools.
And I think I agree because so recently even I went to some talks and somebody asked me, "Will AI? Should I be scared by AI? Will AI take my job?" And my answer was very simple that uh, if you adopt with the technology that's coming, if you adapt it well, it's gonna be a blessing to you, not a boon. So you have
Yeah.
to take that well. And one more kind of analogy that I give, that make AI work as your assistant, not your boss. You have to kind
Right.
of make it work for you rather than you working for it. So
Mm.
that's how you're gonna evolve in the technological field. Even everybody, like as I said, designers was not a field. I think designers were definitely something in the past, but not the experience design that we know now. Because of technology,
Yeah.
experience design people came because they understood how user behavior comes. The now
Mm.
that attention span is less and other pieces are coming into play to kind of make better experience, which definitely makes sense a lot. uh, so
And
I let's
also
just
one point I
yeah,
feel to add
yeah.
there is, there are very time consuming tasks like the UI testing, right? So for example, if you're looking at the designs that you created and the screenshots from the developers, tools that they created. So these tools can definitely help in those kind of tasks where you spend a lot of time and not really require a lot of creative thinking, or um, that kind of task, right? So maybe, for example, comparing two different screens, so these kind of tools can help in doing those jobs that don't really require a human intelligence or a creative thinking. That will definitely help in reducing our uh, the time that we spend on these kind of tasks also. What I think.
I think I agree. That's how the technology is going to evolve as we grow forward. And again, as I said, we need to adapt with it. We need to figure out what's the right way and right things we should adapt with and kind of make that balance. Awesome that we talked about all of these things. I really want to get into a fun part of the podcast. That's some rapid fire questions. I'm just going to throw in some questions. You can give me the answers which you feel are right from your opinion. The first
Sure.
one, would you prefer designing for experience or designing for information?
I would say designing for experience. Uh, yeah. Do you need an explanation?
You can, you
Or
can. I definitely would love it.
yeah, I feel like experience comes first, because that's what people feel, right? Information, I mean, you can provide information without having a good experience, right? I think that's not a great way to do it. Always, provide information, and giving a better experience doesn't mean you're not providing information, right? I think it's always providing a better experience when you provide information is what I think, feel is a better way.
Makes sense. Second, would you prefer voice user interface or graphical user interface?
I think graphical user interface for quite some time, at least, because voice assistants or voice inputs are there for quite some time now. But I don't think people are really using it. I have two voice assistants sitting here in my home, and I rarely use them. I don't know about other people, but I use them very rarely, maybe for playing music in once a week or something. But graphical user interface is a part of our lives, right? We use it every day, every time when we use mobile phones or laptops or any device that has a user interface, right? So I feel like uh, we are still with the graphical user interface for quite some time before shifting to completely voice.
And I agree because even I have a Google Home and I just use it for listening to music. That's it. Like
Yeah.
rarely use it to anything else. But I think one thing I'm definitely intrigued and curious to kind of figure it out later in life is
Mm.
these smart voice integrated devices being automating your home. That's something that really intrigues me. And
Mhm.
so I have seen even in like abroad countries, people kind of automating shit out of their home, which
Right.
which which is really interesting. uh,
Mm.
I don't know how it's going to evolve, but something that just curious my mind.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. I don't really see that in our country in that
Yeah.
scale. But outside, yeah, it's quite normal these days, right? And I'm building a house now, so I was thinking about automating it, but I don't know how much is it possible here. But let's see. I like the idea of automating. I have some smart bulbs and some speakers in my home currently, but not much, right? That's very common, and everybody has it. But automating a complete house is a big deal, and let's see how much we can do it here
Yeah,
in India.
makes sense. The third one, would you prefer gamification or personalization?
Hmm. I think that's I would go personalization for most applications and gamification for few. Because I don't think gamification is required for all the applications or all the use cases, especially from an enterprise point of view, where I have most of my experience in. And in a customer facing application, maybe uh, even in customer facing application, I think personalization is applicable to most of the applications that at least I am working on than gamification, right? But I see gamification has its own value, and I don't think it's applicable for all the applications. But when it is required, I think gamification is also important.
Makes sense. And just a question. So, if you think just about B2C, would you say that gamification is more scalable as compared to personalization, at least in B2C?
Mm, I think personalization, even in B2C, personalization is we can apply it to most applications than gamification is what I feel. Like I don't really see gamification is required in most use cases, but few use cases we can. But like I said, personalization we can apply to most of the applications is what I feel like.
And I think it's a different game now because if you see modern apps like Cred, Swiggy, they have game.
Mhm.
Obviously, they gamification. They can't live without gamification. That's what intrigues the human.
Right,
But they do personalize it for users, uh,
right,
like giving them personalized orders, the recent orders you have placed, the maximum orders from the restaurants you place. They show it first, and other personalized things, which
yeah,
I feel also an important part. So I feel
mm,
companies now are trying to create that balance between these two, at least
true,
to intrigue the target audience for these companies for sure. Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
And
definitely is
most of them, I
interesting.
think, they
Yeah,
started with personalization and then moved completely to
yeah,
gamification is what I believe in, because that's easy for you to start with, right? And it's important. And gamification, maybe you can add uh, once you have a basic, solid base is what I feel like.
agreed. Next question: would you prefer design systems or custom solutions?
I always prefer design systems,
Yeah,
especially from a mobile, point of view, right? You have, if you're working on platforms like iOS and Android, you have a design language, you have a design system that is available from both the companies, right? And they spend a lot of time and effort in creating that. So I feel like you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. Only when you need, I'm not saying creativity is limited by these design systems, but when you feel like you need a custom solution or you're app or your solution demands it, you should definitely do it. But I don't feel like creating something for the sake of creating it, right? So, and also from a BC mobile or any application development cycle we have these days, design systems definitely help. And I think also when you scale your team, right, you definitely need a design system. Otherwise, I don't know how we'll handle a large team with one focus or a one application, the whole team working on it, right? So I definitely go for a design system than customization everywhere every time.
And I think I agree 1,000 times because I feel design, as you said, design system kind of helps to keep everything in place. Even I feel branding is an important part of the design, and
Mm,
design system helps to keep that in check, and a lot of other pieces as well. But I feel the only thing nowadays, even a lot of kind of people ask me, is while being in a company or startup,
mm,
design system is not the liberty that they have.
mm,
They have, like, they do try to follow a design language or something, but
mm.
they definitely have to do everything custom. They don't have the
Okay.
liberty to create a design system. So it definitely brings a challenge, but I think every
Mm,
designer would love to have a design system. Definitely makes
yeah.
an I have a personal thing. I feel design system as a designer for me helps me to create a, I will say, helps me to focus on the bigger problems rather than kind of trying to
Right.
figure out if I'm using the right padding on the button, if I'm using the right typography at the right place, right time, the right icons, another 1,000 pieces.
That's so
So
true.
if, and I that's again, as I said, that's not the liberty for small startups,
Mm,
which I feel in turn degrades the quality or degrades the real design things that they should be doing. Uh,
right.
so yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and also when we talk about rapid prototyping, right? When you have now most of our mobile projects are 3 months to 6 months. If you're focusing on one use case or one user, mostly from an enterprise point of view, you'll be focusing on one user and they'll be doing daily job, right? So we may not be having an app with a lot of functionality. So we focus on one user, one use case. So these applications project may be for 3 to 6 months, right? So I don't think we'll get that much time to, create everything from scratch. So we focus more on the thinking part of it, right? So you do sketches and converting from sketches to design will be very fast. It will be very helpful when you have a design system that's in place.
Definitely agreed. The last rapid fire question I have is: do you prefer dark mode or light mode?
I think I like light mode. I use dark mode only if I'm using devices at night, and I use the system setting to shift from light to dark in the evening, right? And I don't really use my laptop in the nighttime, so I mostly use my phone, and I don't really feel. I think I like. I see a lot of people using dark mode in the daytime. They just like it. I don't know if they're trying to save the battery, but they just like using it every time. But I don't really do it. I like light mode during the day, only to adjust with uh, the surroundings. I use dark mode, and that just switches from light to dark in the evening, right? But I think I'm more interested towards light mode than dark mode, unlike many people.
And I think it makes sense as well.
Yeah.
So I think we are almost at the end of the podcast, but I definitely ask these two special questions to every guest who comes out the podcast. The
Mhm.
first one is, so you have been through an amazing journey. Did experiment with engineering for quite a while, then figure out design is your calling, and been in design for so long. What would you say is next for you as for a Harith? What's next for you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot is happening in the design industry nowadays. Like we discussed, there are a lot happening in the AI space. Especially in IBM, when we are doing our daily job, we always try to focus on innovation and try new things. We always try to explore new things that comes into our industry or our space, right? So last year everyone was talking about metaverse, and this year everybody is talking about chat gpt. So that's happening in parallel. So we do something. I mean, not saying we are doing a lot in those space, but we always try to focus on these things and try to experiment with these things. That's happening. But More than that, I feel like mm, mostly from exploring in the visual design side. I mean, maybe exploring more about illustrations or more about graphics and video, bringing into the user interface and all that. I was focusing mostly on the UX part of design phase, but I think I should more focus more on the visual side of things as well. That's in the immediate future, right? And later, let's see. Now, uh, I don't really plan that long. I plan for short goals. So I think currently I'm focusing more on this, improving my visual design skills.
And makes sense. I think even a lot of designers who kind of come now in the industry, especially I will say startup world, people are looking for visuals, or like people are looking for all rounders, especially in startup world. I because I have some experience there.
Mm,
I don't know about big companies like Apple, Meta, or like any big companies, but what I feel here is it's more of a generalist role rather than a specific role. You have to play all the
right,
hats if need be. And visual, you can't kind of you can't deal with a startup without visuals. You as a product designer,
right.
UI designer, anything without visuals, it's just you're not a designer for them. For now, I feel as I think other
True, true.
startups for sure have different career scale like Swiggy and other people who have user research and other teams which specifically does these jobs. But
Mhm.
small startup, and I think as a startup also they can't even afford to kind of have these special roles.
True.
And so a question for you: would you say having I think even you said that UI tester being having the knowledge of UI tester really helped you to understand the experiences and everything. Would you say as a young designer, somebody coming, they should be a generalist? They should know every nitty gritty. They should know some nitty gritties of everything. They should become a master of one.
Yeah, I think even in our program, right, we don't have specific roles as a UX designer or UI designer. We all are product designer. Even if we are calling us ourselves as UX designers, we start from requirement gathering and then sketching and UX flows and then doing visual designs, right? So I think we all should be doing that. I mean, I don't really feel like splitting these into visual and UX. I think most companies do that, but I definitely feel like you should be able to do the entire product design life cycle. Is what I really think.
Makes sense. Harit, I think we are on the end of the question. So this one is definitely for the people who are listening out there. So what would you what is the one piece of advice would you give to the budding designers who will be listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I think I should look for the things that you uh, do during your school days, your college days, or whenever you're sitting idle and thinking about. I mean, maybe you're getting bored doing nothing. So I think those are the times that you realize what exactly you want to do or what exactly your likes are, right? So you just give a little bit of focus on that times. Then you'll maybe start seeing what exactly you like, and you don't need to plan your entire career, right? You can maybe in a large company if you're joining, you can try out multiple things. Especially in IBM, you can do that. And if you find something that you're really interested in, you can switch your career. That is also possible. So I don't feel like you don't need to plan your entire career out and then start it. You can always explore multiple, options that you have, and just focus on that small things that you feel like doing and you enjoy doing, right? And that will definitely, help you understand what you like and uh, pursue what you really like. Is what I think.
I
Mostly
think
for
def-
everybody, not just for designers.
Yeah, I think that's a really great advice for especially uh, for the people who will be listening who are budding, and I think that's definitely going to help them to kind of figure things out. Uh, Thanks, Arit, I think for coming in, and I think it's been a wonderful podcast. People would have learned a lot from your journey, and I think being in the industry for quite a while, you have seen the ups and downs, and those experiences really count well. Those experiences really helps people to kind of learn how the design has shaped. While they are in a very great shape right now, design industry being a little famous, it was not so good back then. uh, I think that's an important phase to even learn as a designer, that how design has grown, how its importance has even grown. uh, I think that really gives you the confidence that what you are doing is the right thing. uh, that definitely helps. So thanks Arit, for coming in and kind of sharing a lot of insights with us. People are gonna definitely love it. I will definitely link your socials in the description for anybody who wanna reach out to you for any help. Thanks a lot for coming in, and thanks a lot for everyone who's listening till the end. Any last parting words?
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting, and it's been a great time, right? I mean, we don't really do this kind of talk during our work days, so it's usually between developers and testing team sharing about screen designs and all that. Right? But I really enjoy doing this. I really, appreciate you taking time out to do this, and wish you all the best, and wish everyone who is listening and who is planning to become a designer, wish them all the best and have a great time here. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Harit, and thanks a lot for everyone who has been listening. So see you guys in the next one.